to kick us off with the introduction. If Andrew's here. If not, we can give him another few minutes. Andrew Atley, do you know if Andrew Carter's is joining?
I know that he had messaged that he was not feeling well and maybe out the rest of the day. I'm not sure if he was planning on attending State Housing Board or not.
Okay, when I talked to him yesterday, he did say that he wanted to kick off the introduction or pass it on to Allison George. Is Allison George on? I just saw you pop up, Allison. What Andrew wanted to put you on, hopefully not on the spot to talk about, but was to have you address the email that went out the end of last week that talks about the remaining funds that you have available and how competitive it would be, and also the policy. Is there any particular legislations that are up for vote soon that you could educate us about, so we are ensuring that we have enough funds to keep supporting all these great projects?
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Anthea. I appreciate that. So maybe a little on the spot, but no, happy to do it. So on Friday of last week, we did send email notification that I had up and now is gone. Notification about our funding and our coordination with our other partner agencies, CHFA, and help tell how we can collectively approach filling the gaps in the projects that we are seeing. We know that we have a strong pipeline of projects that are planning to come in July 1st that were funded through the tax credit program in 2023. And so what the email notification that we sent last week was really focused on what that coordination was, really working toward greater transparency and clarity as our applicants are applying to us. And so some legislation that we're closely watching is House Bill 1308. That House bill in particular talks about the cadence of our applications. It talks about the underwriting of our projects. It talks about the timing of our contracts as well. And so that proposed bill really talks about the issues of that email blast. And so the things that we're rolling out right now are based on what we know right now. And so we don't know everything. We don't know what that bill is going to look like when it's possibly signed into law. And so subject to how that is finalized, what we put in the email is an effort to provide that greater transparency now, so that you all understand where we are in the process. So with that, our funding comes in multiple different ways. As a state housing board, you see that. We have funds that come in on a monthly basis. We have federal funds that come in on their program year. We have state funds that come in July 1st. And so as a part of the transparency that we're working toward, it is sharing what that cadence of our funding actually is, because that can help inform how we take applications and then we underwrite applications. And so the email newsletter that went out on Friday went through these processes because, like I mentioned, there are 2023 projects from the tax credit program that still have gaps. And so it talked about how DOH will prioritize those applicants during our process of taking in applications, because our number one goal is to make sure that these housing units happen. We don't want to lose units in the state. We don't want to lose resources in the state. So we are coordinating with CHFA on how that will look. DOH is prioritizing those 2023 CHFA applicants as a part of our process. The other component is the tax credit programs, 1434 and 13. Those are two bills that are in process. The idea is with those tax credit programs, they will help fill the gaps. Because the gap funding that the DOH has, we know it's not enough to fill all the gaps that these projects have. And so the idea is the tax credits, together with the Division of Housing funds, can help make all of these projects whole. And that's what we're coordinating with CHAFA on. Any particular questions about that? Because I know that's a lot.
Sam?
Thank you, Anthea. Thanks, Allison. That was a great summary. I'm just kind of curious if the current legislation that's before the state legislators passes and there are additional state tax credits, is the strategy to provide more credits on a per project basis, or is the strategy to fund more projects?
Great question, Sam. So a large component of that is filling the gap of the projects. And so CHAFA is working out the numbers now of how they will move forward. That is their communication to communicate out. And I do know that they're working on a follow-up to the Division of Housing communication that should be coming out within the next week, maybe two. So I would rely on their communication regarding the tax credits. I can say that one of the key areas is filling the gaps for the projects that cannot be satisfied by the DOH gap funds.
Okay, thanks.
But there is communication to be coming out soon from CHAFA on that same topic.
And you know, the obvious intent of the question was that if the intent is, if the strategy is to create funding to assist more projects, that's really going to increase the pressure on the division's funding, because then you have just more projects to fill gaps on. And so I was just kind of curious of how those discussions are going, and if you've been able to impress upon CHAFA that kind of issue.
I see CHAFA as a partner in solving these challenges that we're faced with right now.
Sure. Good. Okay, thanks.
Thanks for that update, Allison. That's helpful. And you mentioned gaps on deals from 2023. We're working on one from 2022 that has a large gap still. It just seems like they continue to have large gaps that are more difficult to fill. And honestly, I'm a little stressed out as I see some of the DOH funds dwindling. And those are all focused on new construction. Can you talk a little bit about what you're hearing in your conversations with CHAFA and others, and especially at the state level as it pertains to preservation of existing assets? Is that a really hot topic right now? Are there any funding sources being worked on, or any potential solutions to do what we can to make sure we're preserving our existing housing stock?
Anthea, that's a great question. The preservation of units is always top of mind, in addition to the creation of new units, because we know that we are, our markets are incredibly tight right now. But as we lose deed restricted units to the market, that only compounds the issue. And so there's a balanced approach that we're trying to take as we look at how we can maximize the housing built in the state.
Thank you. Well, thanks for that update, Allison. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Anthea.
We have 3 project applications this month for this, I guess, bi-monthly meeting. First up is Eagle Villas. It's a request for THLF funds, and leading today is Andrew Etley.
Thanks, Anthea. So to present The Eagle Villas application, we've got Blaze Restello from Ulysses Development Group. Blaze, take it away.
Okay, can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you, Andrew. And first off, just want to thank the State Housing Board and DOLA staff, particularly Andrew and Teresa, for all of your help and assistance to getting to this point. We're excited to present this project for acquiring and preserving long-term affordability for Eagle Villas. Eagle Villas is a 120 unit, all affordable family, affordable building. It's actually 6 buildings, so affordable community in Eagle, Colorado. It was built in 2 phases. So 100 units were built in 1994, and then they built 1 additional building in 1996. That second phase has some 3 and 4 bedrooms, which are very unique to the market. So some very large bedroom sizes, which folks are just not building in the current market. The first 100 units had a land use regulatory agreement, a LURA, that expires at the end of 2024. And the property really was being marketed by a broker in the fall of 2023 as a conversion to market. So pertinent to the conversation that was just occurring about preservation, this was an asset that was being marketed as a conversion opportunity, and being able to mark up rents more than 150% from where they currently are to the market rent. We immediately kind of jumped at the opportunity and tried to assemble a team of stakeholders, including the state, the town of Eagle, Eagle County Housing and Development Authority, the representative and senator and governor's office, and all just said, like, this is a really important asset here. We do not want the state to lose this asset. And here's some ideas and plan and approach to preserving the asset. And really what we did is we had to structure an offer that would allow us the same kind of speed to execution that the market rate buyers were offering. And we put in an initial letter of intent in December to purchase the asset. We actually lost that bid. The current sellers ended up putting the property under contract with a market rate buyer. They went through a due diligence period, and at the very end of January, I made another phone call back to the sellers, said, hey, did you end up consummating? Did you get past your due diligence period, and are you closing? And they actually fell out of contract at the end of the due diligence period, and we took that opportunity to restructure our offer slightly, and we were able to get the property under contract in early February. Basically what we're doing is a 2-stage process. We're going to acquire the property in June, and then we are looking to do a bond re-syndication and reinvestment in the property sometime in the early first quarter of next year. This asset is extremely important to the town of Eagle. It represents more than 50% of the total tax credit financed housing stock. There's a deep need for affordability, especially the deep affordability that exists here. There's restrictions from 45% of area median income up to 60. We really have been working hand in hand with Eagle County Housing and Development Authority to bring them in day one. And they were the first to kind of come to the table and said, hey, yes, we'll form a partnership with you. They're going to come in as a special limited partner at acquisition. So we'll be able to put in place the tax abatement day one of acquiring. They are also, they committed $6.5 million of bridge financing to bridge the acquisition. And then at re-syndication, they're going to leave $3 million of that $6.5 million in long term. And we agreed to a 60-year regulatory agreement, which we're currently working on with them. So we will have a regulatory agreement that'll extend the affordability for 60 years with the county. Then we also were talking to the state about bringing this $5 million in at acquisition as well. And so that's really what you have before you. Ulysses Development Group is also putting $2 million of capital in at acquisition. So we will have $2 million of our own capital in the project through to resyndication, at which point we will refinance out our equity. We'll pay down Eagle County. We'll pay off our bridge lender. We have a $27 million bridge loan from National Equity Fund. And all of that will be because of new sources that come into the project at that time, tax credit equity, as well as a new senior mortgage. So that's the plan. For rehab, we're budgeting, and we're in the middle of scope development right now. We budgeted $75,000 a unit. It's primarily going to be through in-unit interior upgrades. We're looking at all the major systems right now. We know we'll do roof, for example, but some of the other systems we're looking at what kind of systems replacement, and all of it with an eye to sustainability, really. So we're doing an energy audit right now and really understanding how we're going to upgrade the systems so that the property is more energy efficient. So with that, I'll pause and answer any questions, and really just appreciate the opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you, Blaze. I think this is really timely, since I was just asking Allison about preservation. When you get through with this deal, it would be great. Maybe I will reach out directly to you and see if there's some value we could add to the State Housing Board here. Maybe some lessons learned you can share with the team on the acquisition of this preservation deal.
Would love to do that. I'm happy to.
It'd be great. And it looks like a really good capital stack that you're putting together. And I know that's not easy, so I commend you all for that. Any questions from the board? Okay, hearing none. Thank you again, Blaze, for the presentation. We will move on to Ascent at Hubbard Crossing. This is also a THLF request, and Fallon Miller will be leading us here.
Actually, I think the agenda's a little off. I'll be presenting this project. So I'm pleased to introduce Brad Weinig with Penrose and Katie Pung with the City of Longmont.
Great. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, State Housing Board members and staff. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here today to request support from you from the Transformational Housing Loan Fund for our planned Ascent at Hover Crossing development in Longmont. My name is Brad Weinig, and I'm a developer with Penrose's Mountain Region office here in Denver, and I'm joined by Katie Pung from the Longmont Housing Authority, who is our co-general partner for this development. I'll just quickly reiterate and summarize the need for the housing in Longmont generally, and this project in particular, the population we intend to serve, and a few other project highlights. So back in 2002, the Longmont Housing Authority issued an RFP to identify a developer partner for this great site in North Central Longmont. The RFP was very specific that the top priority for the Housing Authority, based on a then recently completed housing needs assessment, was affordable rental housing designed for families, primarily with children. And so Penrose was fortunate enough to be selected as LHA's partner, and have been working with them since to deliver on that commitment. And with a mix of 21 one-bedroom, 30 two-bedroom, 21 three-bedroom, and 6 four-bedroom units, along with a standalone community center with a community room, fitness room, indoor play area, outdoor playground. The Ascent truly is designed with families and children in mind. The Ascent will also serve a broad range of incomes, ranging from 30% of AMI up to 80% in an income averaging format. 18 of the units will be supported and occupied by households with project-based housing choice vouchers from the Longmont Housing Authority, ensuring that some of the most vulnerable renters in Longmont will have access to this high-quality housing. It's also worth noting that in addition to the on-site amenities here, the Ascent is surrounded by a variety of great quality of life amenities in the immediate neighborhood in a very short walking distance, including a full-service grocery store, a drugstore and pharmacy, public transportation access, and multiple public parks and trails, as well as a variety of community retail. Development itself will be 100% electric and will meet aggressive energy efficiency and greenhouse gas reduction goals through NGBS Bronze and Energy Star for multifamily new construction certifications. And we're also working with Longmont Power and Communications, the local utility provider, on a rooftop solar program that they would own that would directly benefit and reduce the out-of-pocket utility expenses for our residents. So we're also very excited about that. Very proud to be a part of this very exciting high opportunity development in such a great location and with such a great partner in LHA. I want to thank the Division of Housing and Pam and Ashley specifically for their work on this project. They've been highly communicative, engaged throughout the whole process, and we're grateful for their and for your support. So with that, Katie Pung and I are here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Brad. Any questions from the board? Sam?
Brad, thanks for the excellent presentation. The project looks like a good project. How far along are you in the kind of, penciling the project out?
We are into due diligence calls. We have our equity and debt partners lined up, and we intend to close this summer in early July.
Okay. And I see that you've got vouchers involved. So you've anticipated Davis-Bacon wages in this project?
Yes, we have.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
Any other questions? All right, thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Next up is Pikeview Affordable Home Ownership, and presenting is Fallon Miller.
Thanks, Anthea. With us today is Max Hansen to speak on behalf of the project. Max, you want to take it away?
Yeah, thank you for the introduction, Fallon, and thank you, Housing Board, for giving us the opportunity to present this project today. Within our region, in the last probably year and a half, we've seen a significant increase in the cost of homes. Since 2020, we've roughly seen a 50% increase. The Colorado Association of Realtors currently estimates for March of 2024, the median house price was about $324,000. When I took my position here at UCOG as the housing director, I worked diligently to try and find developers who are willing to work with us to create some affordable homes in the community. I was striking out pretty significantly until I met Bart Atkinson with Pikeview Development Corporation. We've been working on this project off and on for just over a year now. We had Fallon's help in doing engagement with local municipalities and adopting Proposition 123. Took several months, but we got significant buy-in from our communities. Worked hard on ensuring that these homes are going to be meeting local affordability guidelines. Right now, the target price for each of these units is averaging anywhere from $250,000 to $275,000 for our target price per unit, which falls into roughly 80 to 90% AMI within our community. We'd be looking at 13 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom homes, 6 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom homes. And as part of this, we've entered into a formal agreement with Pikeview Development Corporation. They are going to be working with Clayton Homes and having these homes built on site and work on selling them and marketing them. Our agency is going to be responsible for the income qualification for anyone applying for these units. Our agency has well over 20 years experience in doing income qualifications. We do currently operate an SFOO rehab program within 6 counties in the state. We're also an HCB voucher administrator. We do have some clients who have started to build up significant escrow with their FSS accounts, who may be able to use those funds in order to help lower or provide down payment assistance. We do also offer HUD certified housing counseling services and budgeting workshops to help clients ensure that they're going into a situation where they can continue to afford their mortgage and utilities. With that, I'm open to any questions about the project.
Thank you, Max. Any questions from the board? Sam?
Thank you, Anthea. Max, thanks for the presentation. I was just kind of curious, does the Upper Arkansas Area Council of Governments share in any of the risk and or profits of the project?
So we are working with the developer and taking a small consultation fee to help offset our costs related to the income qualification for any residents that are applying for the program. I believe part of that, we are also taking $15,000 through the whole grant just for our consultation in the project.
Okay. And what about risk?
So we don't have any funds allocated to the project itself. We are a nonprofit agency. Our board at the time didn't consider taking on additional funds ourselves. That was all allocated to the actual developer, Pikeview Development Corporation. They currently own the property and they're the ones taking on the majority of the risk.
Thanks so much.
Max, I'm reading through the market demand here, which says that $318,500 house price. So 26% of all households in the PMA can afford it at this purchase price. And that includes owners and renters. Do you have a sense for the real demand? Like, have you built in this area before? How quickly are they sold? Do you have a waiting list? Do you know of families that are just desperate for this right now?
So I do know of a lot of demand for homes. So we do operate what's a self-help housing program funded through USDA Rural Development. This is more of a sweat equity program. But just for context, we do have 6 lots within that subdivision that we're doing our next build on. We opened up applications just to kind of fill out our waiting list for that project on a Friday. By Monday, we had 20 applications. And that was just for 2 open spots at the time. So we had 20 applications for 2 open spots. Now that one does require a little bit more work on the part of the actual homeowner. They're doing 65% of the work, but we've seen significant need, especially for local teachers, law enforcement, and correction officers. Fremont County itself, I think, has 13 prisons within the county, and there are a significant amount of correctional officers that commute well over an hour to come to work. So
Very helpful. Thank you. Fallon?
Something to add to on that one, Anthea. This project originally was going to try and build out the entire development, which would have been around 75 homes. But that is the market demand is part of why we decided to kind of do it on a phased approach and start with these first 19, see how that goes, see how quickly they sell all of that, and then look at hopefully doing in more phases down the road.
yeah, thank you, Fallon.
Okay, this is Bart Atkinson from Pikeview Development. Could I just add one little piece here, maybe that could be helpful? I'm in real estate. I've developed many projects all over the state, and we have seen such demand down in the Fremont County, specifically Florence area. But the problem is most of the homes are 400,000 and above. There's very little, almost no housing less than 300,000. In fact, I just pulled up the MLS down in that area, and there was one single house less than $280,000, and it was in very desperate shape. And these houses we feel will go very quickly and are in great need because of the demand from the prisons. There's and I'll correct Max, there's actually 15 prisons in Fremont County. And I happen to have personal knowledge of several people who commute in excess of an hour and a half to come down there because there's no housing to buy. And there was an RV park that just popped up right near our development. And I know that many prison guards are living in their RV park because they can't find housing. So just to give you a little bit of, I guess, a market analysis from our perspective as well.
Thanks for that, Bart. That's helpful. In good context as well, Fallon. Thank you. Great. Any other questions from the board? All right. Well, thank you all for the Pikeview presentation. We are going to move on to the project application voting stage of the meeting. Is there anybody that needs to recuse themselves from the first or the three deals that we're voting on here today? All right, well, let's vote for all three together then. I'd like to ask for a vote of approval on Eagle Villas, Pikeview Affordable, and Ascent at Hubbard Crossing. A motion for approval.
So moved. This is Ladon.
Thanks, Ladon.
I second that. This is Monique.
Thanks for the second, Monique. All those in favor signify by aye or hand raise.
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? Excellent. Well, thank you, State Housing Board members. Thank you all for attending today. Thank you always to the DOH staff. We look forward to seeing you all in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye bye.
Thanks.